Number one is just good old-fashioned rumination. That is where we take a thought or a memory and we run it over and over and over again in our mind. It's kind of like a cow chewing its cud. Only this is a memory. This is psychological. So you have this horrible event in your life which transcended over months or more likely years. And that's something that you just don't get out of your mind. It's there. It's imprinted on your mind, and you're rethinking it over and over and over again and wondering to yourself, how did you get into this place? Why were you so naive and so gullible? All of these thoughts are coming back into your mind, and you're rethinking what you could have done, should have done, and maybe even what you're going to do. You know what that is, besides rumination, is that's still being on the hook. In other words, the narcissist, who by this time may be long gone, maybe not, but the narcissist is still inside your head. How do they do it? I mean, there is no school that narcissists go to where they learn how to get inside people's heads and how they control them long after they're gone. But the fact of the matter is, it's almost like something that is just innate. It's just natural. They just do it. So you thought at the very beginning, when you were love bombed and you went through all that process, maybe from an intimate or loving relationship, or maybe from what I call a bromance, just a friendship, or maybe some other relationship with a group of people. Believe it or not, there's such a thing, I think, as group narcissism. You may have found that in the culture at your workplace, or maybe you found that in a church you belong to, or maybe you found it, I will almost guarantee you found it in school, particularly high school, because there was this in-group. Remember that? That was the narcissist group. Yep, they're still there. They're still there. And you thought having a relationship with that group, or with that individual more likely, was so very empowering. And you don't want to let go of it. And when you found out, no, it's not real, that's when it really hurt. And that's number two. Number one is rumination. And number two is, well, before I tell you, let me just ask you this question. Have you ever cried while watching a movie? Or had some other emotional response when watching a movie? Get all excited? Or get terrified when you're watching a horror movie? It's not real. I mean, there was a sound stage, there was a script, there were movie cameras, these are actors. It's not real. And they put all this together and put it in front of you, and you have an emotional response. Now, the reason I say that is because that effectively is what the narcissist does. Only it's real life. It's not a movie. It's more of a stage play. He was an actor. She was an actor. And you bought into it. You bought into the act. So you befriended, or maybe you fell in love with, this movie character. You fell in love with the actor, the narcissist. Now, I'm old enough to remember back in the 60s, you remember this group called the Beatles? Well, of course you do. Well, I kind of lived through that, 1963, when the Beatles came over, and there were countless thousands of girls, teenage girls, most of them, kind of at preteen age, who fell in love with the Beatles. The Beatles didn't even know they existed. I mean, they saw the crowd, but individually, they didn't even know they existed. Well, that was just kind of a false romance they had. And most of the girls, I think virtually all of them, maybe a few exceptions, grew out of that stage because it was superficial and they knew it. Eventually, they came to know it. Well, the same thing is true with your relationship with your narcissist. You were a Beatles fan. You were a narcissist fan. You fell in love with a movie character. But now you realize, no, it's a character. I can watch the movie over and over and over again Can't do that with a narcissist, so why am I still hooked on this person? Well, the fact of the matter is, they are still in your head. That's how they control you. So they started controlling you at the very beginning, and they nurtured. And again, they didn't go to narcissist school to learn this, but they nurtured that relationship with you where you became attached to them, and then when they walked away from you, discarded you, you were still attached. You may have had this experience where you have actually seen the narcissist after you've been discarded, after you knew this person really screwed you over, and you still had feelings for that person. If it was a romantic, intimate thing, you still had those romantic, intimate feelings. If it was a friend, you still had that friendship. You wanted to run up and talk to the guy. Well, you may have wanted to walk up and punch him, but you also wanted to, there's that thing inside your head where it's just playing one against another. You know now that it's fake, but it's still there. Number 3, another way the narcissist stays in your life is sometimes they're just physically there. And this happens a lot of times, and you may be experiencing this. Say, for example, the narcissist is a relative. You have relatives who are narcissists? You probably do. Have you had a bad relationship with one of them? Maybe, maybe not. But if you do, they're still in your life. They may still live in your town. I don't know. They're still there. You may see them on Facebook or some other social media. Or it could be somebody at work. What are you going to do? Quit your job? Can't do that. Go get a new job if you can. And there's another narcissist. So that doesn't solve the problem. Or it could be somebody at school. That's almost a guarantee again that they're a narcissist at school. Can't quit school. Can't just quit going, can you? Well, you could, but it's not advisable. And, you could probably think of a lot of other situations. Wherever there are people, there are narcissists. Even in church, we probably ought to do a video on religious narcissism. But even in church, that's one of the group, narcissists. They're there. They're physically there. So one of the reasons you can't get them out of your life, they stay in your life, is because they're physically there and they're going to remain there until they die. And even then, the thoughts and the memories remain. The rumination will remain forever. Number 4 is sometimes the narcissist will flaunt the new supply. Okay, let's call it the new victim or another victim in front of you. Now, this happens, I think, a lot in intimate relationships, romantic relationships. I've seen it happen. I got to tell you, it's never happened to me, as far as I know. Maybe because I haven't had that many romantic relationships, but I've seen it happen to other people where they will bring somebody else into their life, their new beau, their new boyfriend, new girlfriend, and flaunt that person in front of you, staying in your life, making you feel jealous, making you feel bad because you broke off the relationship, or you didn't do what you didn't allow yourself to be manipulated, so they canceled your relationship. Number 5 is this: the narcissist stays in your life sometimes by leaving you financially strapped. Now, if you were so unfortunate to have been married or had a intimate partner, that live-in partner, this is something that happens commonly. Sad to say is they will leave you high and dry financially. I had a bromance with a narcissist, and so gullible. Man, I'd let the guy borrow money, and because I was his friend, I'd take a bullet for the guy. I mean, seriously. He had me. I was that duped. I was that naive. I was that gullible. And you think he paid back any of those loans? No, can't think of a single one. And we're talking thousands of dollars. So they will leave you high and dry, financially strapped. And as we said earlier, it's not just material things, financial things, but it's also emotional things. They leave you high and dry. And yeah, it's not just finances. Sometimes they take stuff You know, they will borrow something and not take it back. Narcissists seem to be good at that. I don't know why. A little bit off topic. But, yeah, they like to borrow things and, well, they're entitled to them. So that's part of being a narcissist. Number 6 is this. You knew we were going to talk about the smear campaign, but there's something that you may have missed in the smear campaign is there are 2 parts to it. In fact, I ought to do a whole video on this. There are 2 parts to the smear campaign. Number 1 is the obvious, where they are communicating to everybody how bad you are. You're a bad guy. It's sad to say, they're very convincing. Well, what is part 2? Well, part 2 is while they are convincing everybody how bad they are also convincing everybody, and everybody being your friends, you know. Your friends, your family, your relatives, your neighbors, your associates, they're convincing them how good they are. That is to say, how good the narcissist is. So the narcissist is doing this thing where he is comparing or she is comparing you with him or her. You, bad. They, good. And they have a gift for this. Again, I said it twice already, I'll say it a 3rd time. There is no narcissist school where they go to learn to do this. And it just shocks me. It amazes me that there are so many narcissists who follow this pattern. We talked about that in our last video, you know, the pattern. And so my conclusion from that is it's got to be innate. It's got to be genetic. It's got to be inherited. It's got to be pathological. It's not something that society teaches them. It's something that is neurological, in my humble opinion. Well, if you got something out of this video, and I hope you did, you know, befriend us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can leave this video with a thumbs up. That helps us with our algorithms, and it's a way to say, for you to say thank you to us. Also, sharing this on social media, you know, other people need to hear this as well, so you can do them a favor, and do us a favor, and do yourself a favor, maybe, by sharing this on Facebook, X, whatever social media you happen to be in, and we'll see you all next time.